Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome this evening's guest moderator, David Schwartz from the Museum of the Moving Image, and tonight's guest, Will Forte.
Welcome and congratulations on a really amazing movie. This is just an incredible ensemble film directed by Alexander Payne. Could you tell us a bit about the two main characters? You play a young man named David, and your character's father in the film is Woody, played by the just legendary actor Bruce Dern. So tell us about these two characters.
Well, I mean, a lot of it you probably just saw it in there, but he thinks he's won a sweepstakes of some sort, and keeps setting off to Lincoln to claim his prize. And we are from Billings, Montana, so that to set off to Lincoln on foot is kind of crazy. So I agree to take him to Lincoln just so he gets it out of his head, and can just return to normal life. I think if he sees that it's all a sham once he gets to Lincoln, that he'll just move on and drop it. And a lot of stuff happens along the way. I'm not going to give any spoiler alerts.
Okay, and your character David, I mean, we meet him in the beginning of the film, and he's sort of got not the best life going. Is that possible? Fair to say?
Yeah, he's a little stuck in a career that he's not super excited about, and he's not the most driven person.
And so, tell us what it was like to get this film, to hear from Alexander Payne. I mean, he's famously called an actor's director. He directed Jack Nicholson, George Clooney, movies like The Descendants and About Schmidt. So how did you first hear about this project? And
Well, I have an agent, and she sent me the script, and I read the script, loved it, related to the character, but thought there was no chance that I would ever be able to get the part. So put myself on tape anyway, just thought it would be a good acting exercise. God knows I need the work, the help with my acting. So I did it and turned it in, never thinking anything would come of it. Didn't hear anything for 4.5 months, and then heard that he had liked it enough to call me in to read through the scenes in person, which right there was just super exciting and enough for me. Like, if it had ended right there, that would have been something I would have told my grandkids.
Is it true that you on the day of the audition said, like, maybe I shouldn't even bother going in? I'd read that somewhere, that you just thought you have no chance of getting.
Yeah, I was really nervous, so I called up my agent and said, should I even go in? I don't know. And she said, "You're being crazy. Just go in there. Be a man about this." And I was like, all right. And it was they made it very comfortable, because he's just a really friendly, fun person, Alexander, and his casting director John Jackson is really sweet as well. So once I got in there, I felt a little more comfortable. Still very nervous, but a comfortable form of nervousness.
And what was it like doing this performance? I mean, in a way, it's you had done some dramatic films, but this is this is a great dramatic performance, and you're not sort of hiding behind a funny character or a mustache or anything like that. I mean, it's a kind of so it asks a lot, I think, of the actors to be kind of revealing. And it's, I think, like all of that Alexander Payne's movies, it's very funny throughout, but it gets at some pretty tough emotional material too.
Yeah, it was a feeling of vulnerability that I had never felt before, and I've done a lot of things that seem to be really embarrassing and revealing, like public nudity and stuff like that. For a movie, not for.
You've never been arrested.
Well, I mean, no, but so to kind of share this real version with people of kind of just who you are, really, in your day-to-day life was nerve-wracking and hard to come to terms with in the beginning.
So much of the performance has to do with the rapport between you and Woody, played by Bruce Dern. So
Yeah.
what was that like? I mean, the kind of working relationship that you had.
Well, it's the relationship that you see in the movie, and I don't want to give anything away, but it kind of mirrors how we were in off screen. We got to know each other really, really well over the course of it, and he's just such a good actor that it is easy to have a rapport with somebody that acts like he does. He's just a phenomenal actor, and made me feel so comfortable. He was very nurturing and patient, always giving me tips. And it was just amazing to see him do this, because he is a very talkative person. He has a million stories about all these amazing people, Alfred Hitchcock, John Wayne, Marilyn Monroe. He's just telling stories after story after story after story. And then all of a sudden it's time to go to work, and he turns into this man of very few words, and he's very gruff. It's a real testament to what a good actor he is.
Yeah, and I don't know if you could, if it's easy to talk about the techniques you use in the film, but it's a very stripped down film. We got a little bit of sense of that in the trailer. There's almost a kind of minimal style to it, but it makes small gestures and little things you do with your eyes or your shoulders, or the way you walk. It tells a lot, but I don't know how much conscious thought goes into that.
Well, I mean, the script was so beautifully written, and such a wonderful template. It's the pace of this movie is very unique. You don't see a lot of movies that take their time like this, but
Yeah.
At least for me, I found it's so the pace also draws you in, and I've just always been such a big fan of Alexander Payne's,
Yeah.
and I never thought I'd get to be a part of one of his movies, so it was such a thrill. But it's very. There are a lot of elements that fans of his movies will really appreciate and like, but it's also a little different than some of them as well.
Yeah, but could you talk a bit about? You made the leap into film by choosing to leave Saturday Night Live after almost a decade there, and you could have stayed if you wanted, and made this decision. So could you talk about sort of how you saw what you wanted to do in film? I mean, you went out, you wrote some films, The Brothers Solomon and MacGruber.
Well, I mean, I did not leave the show thinking, oh, there's a ton of work for me out there in movies. It's, I will obviously get a ton of work. It was a personal decision. My family's on the West Coast. MacGruber had actually just come out, and we were very proud of the movie.
Yeah.
It did not do very well. So it was, it was not like
It's what they
the
now
perfect
call,
time
they
for
now
me
call
to
it a
leave.
cult film, right? I mean, a film that builds.
We're happy that people have gotten a chance to see it. Those that have, because we're. Well, we'll talk more about MacGruber later, if anybody wants to, because we hope to.
I think people do. Yeah.
Well, we'll do. Okay. Well, anyway,
but back to Nebraska.
It was a personal decision to get back closer to my family, and I was thinking, if I can, who knows what will happen work-wise, but I wrote before I went to SNL, and so I was thinking, if the acting stuff doesn't happen, I'll go back to writing, and very happily go back. I love writing, and that it to me would be something I'd be very happy doing if acting stuff didn't happen. So I was so this just came out of nowhere. It was the most unexpected thing to get this job, and just so appreciative to get that opportunity. Alexander has always been, I guess, considered an out of the box thinker with casting, and thank God that he is, because I would have, I don't know that any other director would have let me do something like this.
It's funny because there's a way that in your comedy and in so many of the sketches for Saturday Night Live, you've played men who are just sort of a bit clueless. Like they're very confident, but they don't really, know how they come across maybe. And there's a way that the character in this film is like a bit lost in the beginning and trying to find himself and define himself. And his father is also kind of lost too. It's such an interesting relationship.
Yeah,
Because you're definitely cut from the same cloth, even though I'm sure there's so many people who have parents and they say, "Oh, I hope I'm not like them," but they sort of are.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting as you get older and your relationship with your own parents changes. I've always had a wonderful relationship with my parents, but it's interesting to grow up and realize, oh, they're not perfect. They're just their mistakes are more hidden until you get you get a little older, and then you realize, oh, they're just normal people who make mistakes, the same mistakes that I'll be making, and my kids will find out as they get older and wiser.
Yeah.
I don't have kids, by the way, yet, but that's wishful thinking.
But was there a lot of discussion about? I guess Alexander, the director, has older parents, and just the way that you deal with aging parents. I mean, that's sort of another thing the film gets into.
Well, I mean, this is actually the first movie that he's directed that he didn't write the script for. There was a guy, Bob Nelson, who wrote the script, and Alexander definitely put some work into it as well. But so it was. I think it still is something. Even though my family is so different than the family that is in the movie, there's so many relatable elements. You can't help but feel close to a lot of these characters and the things they go through, even if you have families that are incredibly different.
Tell us about the actress, the mother. We've talked a lot about Bruce Dern, and he won the Best Actor award at Cannes for his performance. But the mother, Jane Quibb, is
June Squibb.
June Squibb is. It's just an amazing performance. Could you talk about her and her character?
She is just the same thing that I was saying about Bruce applies to June as well. She was the Jack Nicholson's wife in About Schmidt, and it's as different a role from what she does in Nebraska as you could possibly get, and she also, who she is as a person, she is this wonderful, sweet human being, and which is so different from this character. So it's just a real testament to her acting. She's just a spark plug in this movie. She's got so much fun, energy, and she kind of steals a lot of scenes.
Oh,
she's delightful.
She's so great.
Yeah.
I want to just ask about one thing about the film, then we'll open it up for questions. But could you talk about what the movie was doing cinematically, like the style? We see that it's in black and white and widescreen, and it just has a feeling almost like it's from a different era in terms of the filmmaking.
Yeah,
it's a type of movie we don't see much anymore.
It takes place in the present, but because of the black and white, it really it gives it a somewhat of a timeless feel, like it could have happened in any era. That's all stuff that Alexander has his reasons for. I was just like, oh, you are going to let me be in this movie? Do whatever you want to. Black and white, that's fine. If you want to shoot it in all purple, that's fine with me. So I was just so excited to be a part of it. But yeah, I mean, the black and white is obviously unusual, and the pacing is unusual, is so unique. It takes its time. But it's back to the black and white. It's beautiful. It is when you see it on the big screen, it's just as the cinematographer, this guy Faden Papa Michael, who's worked with Alexander a lot. He just did the best job. The two of them work so well together that it's visually stunning.
And it reminds you of like some really classic Hollywood comedies by directors like Preston Sturges, who kind of look at like communities, like a small town.
Yeah.
It's a film that is, in a way, it's sort of poking fun at the people. This sort of small town mentality, there's real satire, but it's very loving also.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know, Alexander is from Nebraska, and he still lives for much of the year in Omaha. So he loves Nebraska and Nebraskans, and you know, these there are a lot of colorful characters, good and bad, in this movie, and that's, you know, you find those types of people in every state, in every country.
Okay, so let's open it up for your questions.
Mr. Forte, I saw the film last night, and I thought it was incredible. I'm a huge Alexander Payne fan, and it was just another great film to add to the rest of his works. I was just wondering, how do you work with Alexander Payne on set, like, to prepare for your performance? Because, I mean, every performance in every one of his films they're so spectacular, and I want to know the actor-director relationship to get you guys to that point.
Well, the script was so, it lays out such a template for you. It was pretty clear what he was looking for. Or I thought I knew what he would be looking for. That's why when he responded to the tape that I had made, I felt like, oh, okay, I guess I was kind of in the ballpark of what he was looking for. And so by the time it gets to when you're going to actually make the movie, the adjustments are kind of small adjustments. Like he is just an amazing director, and I don't even know how to describe his style. He has such confidence. He knows exactly what he wants, we didn't rehearse a lot. We came about a week early to Nebraska, and most of the rehearsal was just consisted of us driving to the different locations and getting to know each other as people, so we'd be really comfortable, working together and doing all this stuff together. And the other great thing is the crew that he has, just these amazing people. And a lot of them have worked with him on all or most of his movies, and he just keeps collecting these people who are not only wonderful, wonderful people, but just happen to be at the top of their game in their respective fields. Just every department is filled with these genius people who are really nice, and so it gives you this really comfortable environment. And then, when it gets down to actually filming the scenes, it's much more comfortable than I would have imagined it being. Like, I was very intimidated going into this, and he was able to make it very comfortable from the start.
Well, he shoots scenes over and over again. Like, he does let the camera run for a long time, and there's so many details that look so, like, perfectly worked out. But is he shooting?
I mean, he knows what he wants in his head, and he doesn't necessarily shoot a lot of takes. But he'll shoot it until he gets what he wants. He knows when he gets what he wants, and so you'll keep going. I remember the first day was the very first scene was my scene in the record store, or the stereo store with those guys, and it's all one shot. And so we did it maybe 20 times. But there were, different things were happening that made us. This is the first day, so everyone is moving around. I remember this wonderful woman, Anna, who works with him, came up afterwards and seemed very happy. She said, "Oh, that was great. That was great. God, I've never seen him do so many takes before." And that is not what you want to hear
on your first day of shooting.
On your first day. But she said, "Oh, no, I didn't mean it like that." But he just knows exactly what he wants. He's so confident, and that confidence just kind of spills over. You can't help but let it affect you in a positive way.
Hi, Will.
Hello.
Hi. I've been a fan of yours for, I'd say, about a decade now, and I really love.
Thank you.
Yeah, I really love the stuff that you've done, both as an actor and as a writer. So my question is, now that you've made the switch from comedic acting to dramatic stuff, would you ever consider writing something dramatic?
That's a very interesting question. I guess this decision to do this film, it was not like, I gotta start. I have to try to do a drama. I want to push into this drama realm. It just was a no-brainer. Like this, what a beautiful script oh, if he would ever let me do it, I got to do this. But I never thought that I would be in a drama. I guess every once in a while, watching a drama, I would go, oh, I wonder if I could ever do that. But I never dreamt that I would get to be a part of one, and not just a part of one, but a part of, a movie that one of my heroes was directing. But I've never thought about writing one. I mean, I would never. I would love to try any. Oh, thank you, God. I would love to try every experience there is, and obviously wouldn't ever want to sit down unless got inspired by something. And at this point, the things that as a writer that usually inspire me tend to be comedic, just because of but that's just the way my brain thinks from starting out in comedy. But if I ever thought of something, I would love to try it. Yeah.
Hey, Will.
Hi.
My question is, during the movie, did you have any discoveries where you were working on it, where you were just surprised by while working with Alexander Payne? And since it's a movie about family, did you have? I know you said you had a really good connection with your family. Did you also have? Did you use any of your relationships from your family in this film?
Yes, my grandfather, who I had a great relationship with, and loved him very much, but he was a man of very few words, so I could really relate to at times the frustration of having a relationship with somebody that it wasn't such open communication. He, obviously he would show me in different ways how he felt about me, and it really helped with the way I related to Bruce, because his character is very much the way my grandpa was. Maybe a little the gruffness is very similar. There was a little more playful lovableness to my grandfather, and we had a great relationship. But it did help. And what was the first part of your question? I'm sorry.
Since this was your first dramatic film, did you have any aha moment with Alexander while you were working on the piece?
In terms of the aha moments, just things I learned about acting or about myself, or
just about both, whether about yourself or of your acting, that you were just surprised to have just had that aha.
Well, I mean, this was such a new experience that it was tons of aha moments. I think that Bruce and Alexander specifically were so good about guiding me through this process that I was I don't know, it just felt like every new phase was a smooth, comfortable transition, as there was nothing really that jarring. So I mean, the whole thing was, I don't know about, it was not aha as much as what the F. Like, how did I get myself in this position? Essentially, this was just like a dream scenario that I found myself in, and I was constantly pinching myself, and to have these guys being just wonderful partners and teachers, it was something I will never forget. I realized that this is an opportunity that not everybody gets, and I am so thankful to have gotten this opportunity and experienced this. Yeah.
Do you, when you're making a film, do you watch dailies and see how your performance is evolving while it's going on?
No, I mean, with anything I've ever done before this, it seems like that's really what happens. We'll do takes, and then everyone kind of gathers around the monitor, sees how it is. I don't. But Alexander, he doesn't use a monitor. I mean, we did check a monitor. There's a scene where I have to punch somebody, and so we have to see if it looks like I connected. And that's the one time that I saw him check a monitor. Other than that, he's always just right up there. And Faden, who is the director of photography, he's behind the camera, and he'll let him know if everything's in focus or if everything looks good. But Alexander's just there right with you watching the performance. It's really I don't think a lot of people do it that way anymore. It's a lot of monitor watching, but he's right there.
It wasn't just anybody you got to punch, right? I mean, you got to punch a pretty special actor.
I'm not a spoiler.
Or should we not
spoiler
say?
alert.
I know. I was careful not
I don't
to
know.
say.
I don't know if that's. I don't know. I did get to punch somebody pretty awesome. in totally unrelated, there's a guy named Stacy Keach in this movie who is this
okay.
awesome actor who I'm a huge fan of.
Right.
And he is wonderful in this movie and wonderfully punchable.
Right. And does have a black eye in one scene.
He might.
Okay, enough with the plot. Oh,
No,
so was the first time you saw the film like at Cannes when it premiered? I'm wondering what your first experience was seeing this.
I got to see it probably about a month and a half before going to Cannes, and it was. I mean, it was a very special experience to get to it because I was just with Alexander and Bruce, and Bruce's daughter Laura was there, and I think the editor Kevin Tent was there, and that was it. And it was just this really special thing to get to watch this movie with these people that you had grown so close to over the experience, and it was. I mean, I loved it. It was there were so many emotions tied in there, and it was I will say it was tricky just watching myself in something like this. It's just hard. It takes a while to get used to watching yourself in something, and I'm kind of getting used to watching myself in comedy. It's still hard to watch comedy, but to watch something this revealing, it was hard to get used to it at first, and now I've kind of developed a thick, a callus, and now I can watch the movie in a different way and not really critique myself. I get in my head about stuff. So it's I'm so proud to be a part of this movie, and I just am I love the way it turned out.
So kind of like two questions. First, was this filmed in Nebraska?
Yes, it was. Every location is true to what it was in the movie. Mainly Nebraska, a little bit of Billings, Montana, a little bit of Wyoming, a little bit of South Dakota.
And what was your impression as someone who's lived in New York City for a long time? Like, what was it like working in Nebraska? And would you ever go back for vacation or personal reasons?
Man, I'll tell you what, I would definitely go back there. It was I went to a dude ranch as a kid in Montana. And I had an ex-girlfriend that was from Iowa, and that was pretty much as close as I had ever been to Nebraska. And those were all very quick, did not spend a lot of time there. And most of the rest of my life was spent either right outside San Francisco or down in L.A. or here in New York. So it was such a different place and full of a really different type of beauty, and people had warned me that there would be a lot of corn there, and their warnings proved true. There is a lot of corn there, but it was just, instead of being this monotonous landscape, it was I found it to be really, really beautiful and more of a texture to it than I thought there would be. It was beautiful, and the people are just incredibly inviting and warm, and so I would love to go back. Omaha is, I think they call it the Portland of the Midwest. It's a pretty cool city, and the food is really good. So, and I'm a food lover. I guess everyone is a food lover. Everyone loves food. That's not. If you're like me and you like to eat food, no, it's great. And Lincoln is a cool city. It's just so different. I would tell everybody to go back, and I am going to go back.
Hi, Will.
Hello.
It's great getting to see you talk here, by the way.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about MacGruber, because I think that's actually a wonderful film. And one of the things I like about it is obviously you set out to make, a funny film, something that can make us all laugh. But I think it's also a really good example of both an ode and a critique to like male machismo, action film, like the action star. And I was just wondering like how much of a conscious decision it was of you to like actually take on like that aspect of it within like obviously a film that's made to be funny and silly, but also like I think had a lot of interplay of like dealing with like those issues of like the critique of that whole genre.
Oh yeah, I mean, MacGruber for us was a love letter to all those old stupid action movies that we loved with all our heart. Like growing up, I mean, it's crazy some of the stuff that we watched and just believed with all our like, oh, this is actually possible. I mean, so yes, it is. We find them to be incredibly crazy, all those movies from back then, but we also love them with all our hearts. So this was, just our love letter to that, and we do very much hope to do a second one. We're talking about it all the time. Jorma is incredibly busy. The guy who wrote and directed it. I wrote it with him, and our friend John Solomon works at Saturday Night Live, which is a brutal schedule. Like when they get going in production, it's hard to really do anything else. So we just finding the time to get us all three together to write it is tough. But we are in the process of writing it and scraping together as much time as we can get, and then once we write it, we don't know if anybody will let us do it, but we're that's the plan. We'll got to write it first, and then we'll find a way to get it done. Because even if nobody lets us do it, we'll just do a really credit cardy version of it.
Well, there are people in the audience who look very excited about MacGruber too. So,
thank you. Well,
but in the
Thank
meantime, best wishes for the opening of this film, Nebraska. It's really an extraordinary piece of work. So
Thank you.
congratulations and good luck with it.
Thank you very much. Thanks for coming out.